All right, guys, I've had a bunch of people on the channel asking, when am I going to do a driver video? So today I'm doing a driver video. We're going to talk about how to create speed with the driver. I know so many of you struggle to create energy at this end of the golf club. Doesn't translate to any ball speed. And, you know, the harder you swing, essentially, the shorter you hit it. For those of you who have not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and press that subscribe button. There's a bell button next door. You'll get a notification every time I release a new video. So when we talk about the driver, we've got to make sure we understand your grip is incredibly important. You've got to make sure you grip the club, in particular in the fingers of your lead hand. We need to be able to leverage the club, guys. Hinge, unhinge, rehinge. I talk about this a lot in my videos, what we call angular speed. So make sure you grip the golf club well, first and foremost. These weak grips that are in the palm, not going to work particularly well for you, okay? Don't get too open. Don't get too steep with your setup with your shoulders. So I'll put a ball down here. Go ahead and show you. When I set up to it, I get my feet together opposite the ball. Basically take a step with my right foot. And as I'm doing that, I want to make sure here I can touch the back of my trail knee with my right hand, okay? So I'll go ahead and set up to it. A lot of the time I'll set up to it, keeping my right hand here. And then I'll place my hand on the golf club from my trail knee. Okay, so down the line, that's going to look very different to the way most of you guys are setting up. Just remember, optically, we've got some challenges when we hit a driver because the ball's very forward in our stance, right? It's up in our stance. So your eyes generally are going to be directed towards the ball. Guess what that does to the plane of your eyes? It turns the plane of your eyes to the left. What happens to the shoulders when your eye plane moves to the left? Your shoulders move in the same direction. Again, people aren't really talking about this. Incredibly important, all right? So down the line here, I'll go ahead and set up to it. If I just grab my right hand and I've got the ball forward, I'm naturally going to have my shoulders too open. You can see my shoulders are lined up way to the left. What are the odds of me getting some depth at the top of my backswing from there? It's just not going to happen, okay? So if I do this, if I go ahead and set up to it without taking my right hand and putting it on the club, just set up to it, put it at the back of your trail knee, and then go to the side of the golf club from your trail knee. Can you see what that does, guys? That keeps that right shoulder back. It keeps it more shallow, allows the golf club now to start to work around your body, as opposed to so many of you that are lifting as you take the club back. All right? So important to understand, good grip, good setup. We've got to understand, guys, the golf swing, definitely a marriage between the wrists, the arms, and of course, the body, which I think acts as a stabilizer as much as anything else, especially that lead leg. We're going to dive into that here in a second. So when it comes to the golf swing, guys, making sure that your hands and arms aren't tied to your body. I see it all the time, people getting in here with their arms and then they're separating and getting very pinched and very narrow. That's a huge problem. So you want to make sure, guys, we get that club swinging up above your trail shoulder as best you can, okay? The further we can get our hands away from our body, the more linear momentum we can create. That's the force that's created with the arms against the shaft. We get those arms moving faster, and then right in around waist high, what we're going to do is exchange that linear momentum for angular momentum. That's when the wrists unhinge and rehinge on the opposite side of your body. So I want to make sure we understand that. The arms control the verticals in the golf swing. So I'm very, very cognizant when I swing a golf club, especially my driver, of making sure I get my arms to feel like they're working up above my trail shoulder. You draw a line down essentially from the top of my backswing to my trail heel. That's getting me in a really good position to be able to attack the golf ball from the inside. Now, when you get to the top of the backswing, the vast majority of you are transition spinning. It just means that when you start your downswing, you tend to unwind your shoulders and your hips way, way too early. I see this all the time. And remember, your arms follow the path of your shoulders. So if you get to the top of your backswing here, the first thing you do is spin your shoulders. What's going to happen is the club's going to get thrown out and over. The body then is going to have to stall, and then the club's going to release early. So what we see is a look where the club gets dumped over here. The body's facing the ball too soon, and then the arms simply work in towards the body on the through swing. What I like to call a handcuff look. We see it all the time. So what we've got to do, guys, is understand while the body has a role, it's much better suited to follow the swinging motion of the arms. I understand there's a kinetic chain, there's a kinematic sequence. I'm not suggesting that we need to change that sequence. What I am suggesting is feels and reels are not the same. And for the vast majority of you, what you want to feel, guys, is you want to feel like your arms are getting to the ball before your body in many respects. My best golf swings, I feel like my upper body's facing the camera when I strike the golf ball. When I transition and change direction, I feel like my upper body remains back. That's what allows my arms to work down in front of my body. So now I've got my arms essentially working up and down a little bit like an elevator in a building. And then I can go ahead and combine that, okay, with some rotation with my body, okay? So the body is going to control the horizontals in the golf swing. Hands and arms control the verticals. You marry those pieces together, you got yourself a golf swing. I hope that makes sense. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and hit a couple of shots. I'm going to see if you notice the difference. So the first one here, I'm going to go ahead and use my body, and it's going to look something like this. I'll do my practice swing. Here we go. We've seen this before. Tell me you can't see any tension in my arms right now. Okay, here we go. Tell me if that swing doesn't look familiar. Nice little 190-yard drive. Squeeze it down the right side of the fairway, right? Guys, you know who you are. I see that all the time. That's someone who essentially doesn't have any relaxation in their joints, in their wrists, the elbows, and the shoulders. That's someone who's hitting at the golf ball. You're making the golf ball your target. You have a hit reflex, a violent disruption. You get to the top of the backswing, you're hitting at the golf ball. What we want to do, guys, is swing through the golf ball. I could put my feet together, relax my arms, and hit it 30 yards further than that. And I can still face you. I'll go ahead and do it for you. I'm going to put my feet together. Swing my arms. Here we go. All right. So, just hit the ground, okay? So I probably carried that golf ball maybe 230 yards, feet together, hands and arms swung freely from the right side of the body to my left, allowed the club to rehinge on the opposite side of my body and hit it about 60 yards further in the air, okay? So relaxation is a big one, guys. Can't just talk to you about the physical elements here, okay? What I need to talk about is the emotional and mental elements that go into hitting a driver. When you've got a 7-iron in your hand, you have a yardage. That yardage could be anywhere from 130 to 180 yards, depending on how long you are, obviously, maybe even further for you beasts out there, okay? The bottom line is, though, you're hitting a specific distance. If you need to hit it further, you'll grab your 6-iron, right? What about this guy? You got another club in the bag that you're going to pull out with less loft that's going to hit it even further? You do not. So psychologically, that's one of the biggest challenges. You're not specifically trying to hit a target at 200, at 220, at 260, at 280, at 290. What most of you are doing is trying to hit it as hard as you can. And when you're trying to hit it as hard as you can, you're forcing it with your body, okay? And your arms are going to lock up. And what's going to happen is you're going to release the club early, but your body stalls too soon, and you have all sorts of challenges. People say, just allow the arms to pull your body through. I would say for a lot of you, I'm certainly more likely to be in that camp than I am people that are suggesting that you get to the top and spin your hips. Because that is an absolute disaster. Most of you are going to early extend, causes all sorts of challenges. However, I like to go one step further because I think it's a little more complicated than just swing the arms and just allow the body to respond. What I like to talk about is using your lead leg as a brake, okay? The lead leg as a brake. So when I hit a golf ball, what I'm doing here is I change direction, is I'm feeling some pressure move into my lead leg. It's what I like to call a transition drift. So instead of transition spinning, we're going to drift. And as I approach that lead leg, what I'm doing, guys, I'm going to use my lead leg to stabilize my body, which in turn throws the club out with even more speed. You're using your body as a force multiplier. You're actually going to gain more speed if you do this, all right? So the feeling I have is that I'm pushing through the ground, and I'm actually giving that ground a little kick as I hit the golf ball. My lead leg needs to feel essentially like it's extending. That's just something that I want you to think about for a second. So I can go ahead and swing my arms, and many of you are going to have this look as you swing your arms sort of through the golf ball. You know, we've seen that look before. And you can see my lead leg looks like a spaghetti noodle. So all I'm doing there is collapsing as I approach the golf ball. But that's not going to transfer anywhere near as much energy to the club head, guys, as someone who's using that lead leg to slam on the brakes, okay? So I do exactly the same thing. Swing my arms freely, engage this leverage system, use my wrists correctly, obviously, make sure my arms are swinging freely. But as I swing through the golf ball, guys, what you're going to notice here is my lead leg is going to stabilize. So I'm going to go ahead and hit one for you. And that ball is launched. It's a lot higher, it's carried a lot further. And for me, I feel like I'm really kicking or pushing into the ground as I make contact. So very, very important to have a stable lead side, especially as a right-handed golfer. If you think about it, if you want to fire your right side, you need a stable left side. All right, if your left side is collapsing, it's very, very difficult to get this releasing freely. So I hope that helps. Remember, guys, it's a marriage between the articulation of the wrist, swinging motion of the arms, and as I just mentioned, the body definitely plays a part. Guys, have fun. Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time.